Melissa with the Creative Season here, and I'm super excited to bring you this week's video. This YouTube video is dropping on my birthday, and this week I thought, okay, what do I want to paint that would be super fun and just would feel free and spontaneous and just light. For some reason, I just wanted to be a little bit romantic, so I had these hydrangeas, and they're starting to fade a little bit, but I absolutely love the colors. So these are actually a lot of fall colors. They're not our traditional fall colors. They are more of those romantic bohemian gem tones that I'm loving this year. So the final is just drying right there. I would love for you to paint with me. We do splatter art because I wanted it to be super fun, super free, super lighthearted, and I have to tell you, it was one of those paintings where it just popped and I fell in love with it, and the more fun I had, it was just bouncing off the page. So I hope you enjoy. Grab your romantic color paints. So you're gonna want like your purples and your plums and your magentas, your turquoise, your dark blues, a viridian green if you have it. We're gonna use just a touch of yellow in some of the stems, but this is a really fun way to create a larger piece of art without a lot of, we hardly do any sketching whatsoever. It is so much fun. So grab your supplies and join me, and let's paint together and add beauty to the world. Hey everyone, well, we're back for another beautiful floral video. I thought we would do create some splatter art today. Super excited to get going with you. I have this beautiful, gorgeous hydrangea, and I think that we're gonna have so much fun coming together and painting this. See these beautiful colors? It's fading a bit, but that's okay. We can capture the beauty, capture these gorgeous colors with the these fun splatter art that we're going to use today. So I've got a bunch of my favorite colors. We're going to start with splattering, then let it dry, and then we're going to come back. I've got this intense blue. I've got my dioxazine purple. We have the phthalo blue as well. I also have one of my favorite permanent pinks, and then also the quinacridone violet that I can never say quite right. So if I have an 18 by 12 paper here today, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by getting some of the beautiful blues all ready to go. And I am going to simply start up here. I'm going to just start making some really fun splatters. And I'm going to move around too. So I'm going to come over here a little bit and move around this way. And it can be very, I think I'm gonna have a flower up here. We're gonna have one down here. I'm gonna have them probably taking up like probably two, maybe one up here, the whole page. So I am just getting a sense of where the colors might be. Very, very playful, super light today. If you have the bigger your brush, the bigger your splatters will be, and then the harder you hit it as well. That's gonna make a difference. And I'll show you too. This, I was using a size 7, that's a 14. And so if I make splatters with that guy, and let me go ahead and get some of the purple, that gorgeous purple, it's gonna be super big, but you can see the difference that it makes. So if I start splattering with this one, it's almost like big raindrops, right? But which is totally fine. It just depends what you want, and then the bigger your paper, there's a lot more leeway that we can do. So actually, I really like that. I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna mix it with some blue. Now our color palette today, I'm gonna, of course, add some green in, but these colors all sing together really, really, really nicely. So I'm gonna move back around here again and move back here. And then I will go ahead, and then I'm going to make sure we're going to take some green and these gorgeous leaves. We definitely want to make sure that I am adding lots of room for these really beautiful leaves. I had to lift up the camera so I could get the whole page in. So good, okay, you can see all of this. Fantastic. So I'm going to set that over to the side, and I'm going to go ahead now, and while this is drying, let's go ahead and start laying some leaves in. You notice I didn't even do any sketching. Now at this point, I might want to add a little bit of a sketch. So maybe down here, I'm going to add just my stem, just so I know where my flowers are going. I really let the concentration of where the two flowers are, where the splatter's focused, be my main concentration. So I'm going to come down here, and this is going to be my other stem. And you notice these stems are nice and long. We do have some little bumpies here. We've got some leaves up top. The other leaves have been taken down. So we were going to also go ahead and just, with this guy, I've got one here. I'm going to go ahead and bend this one almost coming out here a little bit perhaps, just slightly curving and then bending towards, almost if they're coming together, if their ends reached. You notice the splatter's kind of scattered there. That's fine. I am also going to go ahead and sketch in. You could do this before and sketch in my leaves. And I'm even going just around those splatters. The leaves with hydrangeas are super big, right? So make sure we're adding those in. And you know how I like to do it. I just kind of add in my leaves where I like to add them. One of them is going to be going off the page. That's fine. And then over here, as I just really look at how the leaves fall. But this one, I think I am going to create a leaf going way. The stem's going to come out here. And then I'll have the leaf coming out. And we're seeing it bend towards us, but this part is the middle. Okay, so that's really fun. And what I can do now as well is I will even, let me make sure you can see all of this. I've got it backed up. I'll start adding some green. Okay, let me add in some green now for the stems. And sorry, I've got my phone. I forgot to silence it. I'm going to silence the phone here. Okay, I've got a really fun birthday gathering happening. So this is going to come out on Friday, so Saturday. And so my brother's going to come and help me set some stuff up. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm mixing the phthalo blue, and I've got a green over here. In fact, this is Hooker's green in here. And I believe that was Hooker. That's Viridian. We're going to mix the two together, or really mix the three, to get a really nice cool green. And that way, I'm going to go ahead and then start moving this down. And you can see what a beautiful color that is, right? Isn't that gorgeous? Leave some white. We don't want to leave the whole thing in. If you feel like it's a bit too much blue, that is pretty blue, go ahead and just rinse, add in some more green. That'll water down the blue. And so if you've got some green that way, I'm just going to mix it in a bit more. And that way I'm going to come back. There we go. That's a bit more green, right? So we can always play with the colors. If you felt it was just too much, you can always take it, blot it out. There is some yellow in those hydrangea leaves too. I can see really, as we're seeing those really distinct lines that are moving down them. I may go take that nice light yellow, mix it with the green, like a cadmium yellow, and then run that down. So I am just moving this down, moving my stems down. I want to use not too many colors because, as we know, the more limited our palette, right, it is going to really sing really nicely. So again, I'm moving that stem down here. We want to make sure we have, okay, now this leaf is coming out, so we're going to end up keeping this one darker too, to show that that's that end there. And I've got some more green here. Add in my stem. Now we want to make sure we have an odd number of leaves, right? 1, 2, and I've got 3, so I should at least add one more. Looking in here, and again, I think I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add in one over here, just coming out the side, and we're going to have it meet down here. And I think too, I'm going to have this guy, one more leaf right over here. And we're going to have this leaf coming down and then coming off almost like this guy right here who's bending downwards. I'm going to have a nice big leaf coming right down like that. Okay, this is very much a spontaneous flower. We're not putting tons of time sketching into it. We're really going to let this dry. We're going to put on more layers of splattering. Before I do that though, I want to add a little bit more of this. I know there's going to be shadowing on those leaves down there because of the weight, right? The weight of this flower and the way it falls, it's creating a shadow. So making sure that some of these leaves really are much more darker. And I'm going to go ahead, and you don't even have to create it in a line per se, but just dabbing in paint here. That's going to remind us this is my shadow area. It's going to be darker. I want to make sure I have that green in there before I start doing more splattering. And we may do some splattering with the green as well. Okay, you notice too that we're getting a little bit, this is starting to look a little bit drier, so I can go ahead and add another layer of splattering. You know, I was really thinking about like what I wanted to paint. This is the birthday week. I thought, what do I just like would have fun painting? I was thinking of some fall themed things, but I have these gorgeous hydrangeas and they're kind of, I know they're on their way out, right? Because of summer's leaving us. They're typically more like a summer to fall flower. And I thought, you know, I'm going to paint and incorporate some of these gorgeous fall colors I saw. I'm going to mix a little bit of cadmium yellow in with the green. And then create just one kind of like a farewell to summer, hello to the next year. I think they're such a luxurious flower. And, you know, I just am feeling a little, not necessarily luxury per se, but just, you know, they're regal. They're not to be rushed. They just kind of, the hydrangeas know who they are. They take up they take up their space and they're not, you know, they're not embarrassed by it. I just love their way that they have an elegant way of sitting in a place in their vase that I put them in, or in the yard when my mom used to have them, where you notice them, but they were neither overwhelming, not in scent or in fragrance. They were also supportive of the other plants in the garden and the flowers, and I really like those characteristics. I love how they are like a flower, hundreds of flowers in one flower, just holding onto a lot of color. Okay, and you can see some of my splatters are getting blended. That's okay. So I have that light yellow. I am going to go ahead and let that dry now, and then let's go ahead and start adding in some more color. Now this time I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add in that magenta. That's gorgeous. Isn't that beautiful? That is absolutely beautiful. Okay, and I'm sorry, I've got a car coming, a big truck coming by, it sounds like. And think too where the heaviest is going to be. So if you're looking at your flower too, where you have some space, but the blossoms are going to be a bit heavier down below. So we'll end up taking, if you want to take, for example, a piece of paper and cover up part of the flower, and then come back with some coloring. I'm going to take my blue, I'm going to mix it with some this permanent rose and a little bit of the magenta, and then come back and do some heavier splattering right down here. And then we'll let that dry, and I can feel I'm splattering everywhere. The nice thing about watercolor, if you get a little bit on you, and not a big deal, right? I'm going to come down here and go a little bit closer. You see how big those are? They're dramatic, they're darker. And then we're going to let everything dry, and then we're going to come back. And we'll add some shapes too, right? One of the things that you want to notice, as you can see down here, we can see some of those shapes as right in here, correct? All those stems that are coming up to hold the base. I always think of the hydrangea as a tree. It's very, very supportive of all of its flowers. So I might also go ahead and take a little bit of paint, but then just start moving some of these splatters. And you can take the splatters and then move them around, and you can start to create the details. Isn't that fun? Of the plant, of this beautiful flower. So again, looking over here, and one of them, and these colors come together beautifully. So I'm creating and moving it some into my stem too. We're creating some shadowing here. I think that's lovely. Okay. I am really loving how this is going. I'm going to take a little bit of that purple, that magenta. I'm going to add it to green because that will actually make a nice kind of a shadowy. I'm going to add some shadow colors to my stem. Again, that was the magenta with the green. We don't need to add a brown, just use the colors and make in some of those shadowing colors. Okay. That way, when I am going to let this dry now. I'm going to go ahead, turn off the recording, let it dry, and then come back and we're going to do another layer. It's beautiful. And change your water. If you're painting with me, make sure you change your water. So we're going to come back in just a few minutes with some fresh water. Okay, I'm going to see you very, very soon. Okay, so we're back, and so one of the things I want to point out, you might notice your paper starts to buckle. That's okay, that happens. We'll probably end up flattening it out later. Sometimes once take all the tape off. You know, I put it under a bunch of heavy books. But you're also going to notice how the paint is settling, like down here. This is really nice. That is kind of what we want to do with the splatter art, where it is very, very spontaneous, but we're also directing that paint so that you're getting those more intense colors, and we're going to be leaving more space up above. Now, as I look at this painting too, I kind of am going to want the eye to move around it and then move up. So just keeping an eye on that. It's looking very, very nice. This is one of those paintings we've got to be a little bit more patient with, because we don't want it to, we want the splatters to be as distinct as possible. Now I'm going to start doing some more splattering, and again, this is fading a bit. You'll notice though the flowers within the flowers. So I am going to go ahead and also do some painting and doing more manipulation with the brushwork as I add in some more splatters and then start creating them into their own, that beautiful individual flower. So let's go ahead. I've got clean water here. I am going to go ahead and put in first some more of the blue. So I've got a couple of blues that are merging around. I'm going to go ahead and move some of that in together. But this is using the 7 brush, so it's a little bit smaller than that bigger one. And down here as well. Now in this, we had some turquoise, right? So I even might take, if you have Viridian, I don't know if I have Viridian, but I've got Hooker's green. So I'm going to add in some green to the blue. And even that's going to create really, really nice darker splatters. And even I can take the bigger brush, right? And I'm gonna go ahead and mix that in, and then do some heavier splatters down here. Now that's really, really nice too. I'm gonna let those we're gonna move those around just a second here. This is actually turning out very nice. I'm also gonna go back, grabbing that green, darker green, and I am going to go through right in here and creating some, again, the shadow. We're going to get to a point where I won't be able to do too much more on the leaves. So I want to play with them now, creating that tip, that beautiful tip that we have on the end of hydrangea leaves. And you'll notice too that a lot of times they're very almost like a serrated knife at the end here. So let's go ahead. I'm going to create some of that. And just using the tip to create those edges here. You don't have to do a lot, just a couple. And you can even move them out like this, just doing like little zigzags off the side and then connect them, right? So zigzag, just going up, little pointies, and then I can come back and just move them around. Again, we don't have to do hundreds. You're recreating that essence. This is really what I love to call that splatter art with watercolor. You know, it's almost a bit of like impressionist painting, because we're really creating the impression, those distinct features of the flower. Now with this one down here, I'm going to add some blue, making sure you can see this. And I'm sorry if my hair was getting in the way. Hopefully it's not. Once again, I am going to create, because this leaf is going over the stem, I want to make sure this is just going to be a distinguished color. So I'll have to add a more green. That way, that doesn't look like they're blending. One is definitely in front of the other. So I am going ahead, adding some details right here. Then coming back over on my stem, just watering that down a little bit. That's lovely. Adding those edges in as well. A little bit more, and then darker colors here, because I love how the purple went in here, which is fine. Again, this is more of an impressionist. This isn't realistic, although it looks like a hydrangea, right? Isn't that beautiful? So I've got some more stems in there. Okay, lovely. Now, let's go ahead and start. I am also going to take a little bit of that mauve and permanent rose. Let's put some pink in here. I am now moving it around in a circular area. So we're getting that, almost that mushroom, that umbrella. Got some pink in here. Okay, now I'm going to start playing with it too. And on some of these, I am just going to start moving that brush around and creating the sense of little florets. And just let that paint blend. Depending on what colors you've used, how much it's dried, some of it will blend, but some of the splatters are going to stay because they've dried. That's fine. We're going to just create this really fun look. Now, if you want to actually manipulate it, and I'm using a rather generous for manipulate. You can go ahead and grab some paint, right? And then also start adding in, again, the sense of these florets. If you've painted with me, like in the Timid Bold colors, we actually were painting the individual flowers one by one. And again, this is more of an impression. I first started doing this kind of splatter art. I just didn't have the time that I wanted to paint. I didn't have time to spend hours, but I really wanted to have some time for creativity. It was very much a lifeline. Helps me to think really well, do some prayer, just do some thinking time when I'm painting. So it was really, I could feel the difference it made when I didn't. So the splatter art, I was able to complete projects fairly quickly. And then again with the splatter art too, you can start it in the morning and you don't feel the pressure to finish it all at the same time. You gotta let it dry. A friend had sent me a beautiful field of flowers painting. It was with acrylic splatter art, and the acrylic works really nicely because it dries, right? And so it dries and you just do layer after layer. It dries quickly. So this was a little bit different. Okay, I really like that. And as we go up, we're going to do less splatter or less florets because we think the light's coming down, right? It's going to be filling out more. And so this is going to be heavier flower. I'm going to go ahead, I think now, I'm going to take some turquoise. I'm just going to do some gentle fairly gentle splatters up here. And then maybe just kind of almost doing the outline. And I really love how this is turning out. And I'm trying to think, again, I've got that. Okay, let me move this up a bit too. And here we are, we're just hitting 7 minutes on our second session. And you can see how fast we're moving through this. This is a fairly large painting too. This is not super small. It's a fairly good size. And we are just moving right along. There's really a rhythm, there's a cadence to it as we continue to paint. And now if you notice over here, see how that color looks almost a bit faded? Or a bit muted. If you notice that happening, it's because we're getting too many colors mixed together. So what I want you to do if that happens is just back off a bit and go to another area. We'll just let that dry, it's not a big deal. But sometimes that's a sign with the watercolor. Okay, there's a little bit too much dancing going on with this watercolor, right? So we want to back off. Now, I am also noticing, okay, where does my hydrangea start and stop? Because it comes out, right? It comes out very nicely. So I'm gonna place that my ends, this is how this one over here is gonna be. And it would have been, of course, going up off the page, right? Really, really big. So that is going to be that one. And then down here, we're going to probably be hitting the top right up here. So let me back the camera a little bit back down since we are going to move to the other flower. We're going to let the one on top blend in or dry for a little bit. I am going to go ahead. We're going to go and put some blue. And then I am going to grab some of that pink, the permanent rose, and just for changing things up here, we're going to put some permanent rose here, and I'm going to go ahead and start moving these florets. You'll notice that we've got splatters beyond the flower. It's like a hydrangea explosion. That's part of the fun, the part of the joy of this particular painting style. And you could control it. We could have put papers down, right, and that would as we splatter, and that would definitely control it a bit more, and that's an option too as well. Okay, and I'm doing a little bit more of kind of an outlining here, making sure you can see that okay. Okay, good. I've got my yellow sticking out, let me switch my palette of the colors that we're using. I am doing some other fall theme things with some more cadmium oranges and gamboge, and that'll be fun. We're going to be doing another rendition of fall quote art with leaves, which I think you're really going to love. I know I really enjoyed creating that one last year, and it seemed to be really I think it was one of the most popular ones we painted together. So we'll be coming out with the round 2 on YouTube very, very soon. Okay, now I'm going to come back in, and if you would also like, I am going to take my pink and I'm laying it down right in that blue, which is fun because it'll start dancing. And the wetter it is, it's going to start moving around the page too. There is a mystery with this, right? This is we are really letting the paint play together. I'll grab a little bit of magenta, We're going to splatter some over here, letting it play together. Also, I'm thinking too, I can see some more lines going up of the stems. So I might also add in, I'll grab a green and just move the paint around a little bit. Have a little bit of a stem right here. That's looking really nice. Looking really, really nice. Okay, now the hydrangea florets, the flowers, they tend to go upward if you notice that. They're pointing up, so we want to make sure that the petals are also, we have a little bit of a tipping, that they're moving, they're dancing up almost like a cup to welcome the sun, welcome the air, welcome the breeze. That's another one of their distinguishing marks. So when you make sure you're making them look like facing up, like they're welcoming in all the beautiful rays of sun. Okay. Oh, this is lovely. This is really fun, right? I would love actually to hear, if you are painting along with me, what colors you use. If you used a palette similar, or maybe you changed up your palette. And if you found this to be fun, if you found it to be, maybe you're feeling it's a little bit too, is it too loose? Some people, they like a little more structure. Was this too loose for you? I am curious, so do let me know in the comments in the YouTube. In the comments section. Okay, so again, you start to see it move, and I'm like, okay, so this is fun. I'm gonna come back in here and do a little bit more. Let's actually do some big splatters, and then we'll go ahead and move them around. So I think I am going to mix the pink and the magenta for really fall big splatters. Love that. I'm going to use the bigger brush too. And the tip of the brush, I had some blue in there. The blue is always going to overtake it, so be careful of that. If you use blue, don't be afraid to be generous with some of the other lighter colors, because the blue will definitely have its, it will stand up for itself. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead. That looks really, really nice. I love that one. Absolutely love it. Isn't that fun? That's a lot of fun. Okay, now I'm gonna go back. A little bit blue right in here, where that's going to be a little bit more in shadow here with that leaf, and right over here. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. This is coming along really, really nicely. Beautiful, fun. Okay, a little bit more over here. Those dark, this is a fall. It is still very much a fall theme. We're using a lot of these more romantic fall colors, right? They're darker, they have a heaviness to them. There is a bit of mutedness, right? These colors have weight to them. They don't look like they're going to bounce right up off the page, right? They definitely look like they are they're heavier, and they have that moodiness to them, which I love in the fall, that romantic sense. I am going to put some more of that turquoise in here to bring that out of this particular flower, and I'm going to start moving him around now. I am just loving this, and we're actually going to probably finish up fairly fast. I'll let it dry once more and then come back and think, do I want to add anything? Is there anywhere that's getting muddy? And this is going to be, I'm not even going to bring a micron pen with this one, because it is supposed to be loose. Sometimes I do. I'll come back with the micron pen and then come back with more paint. But the way this one's going, it's lovely the way it is. It really, really is. So I'm really enjoying this. Now you'll see I'm a little more turquoisey, so let's, I'll kind of move that about in here. And I don't want it too heavy up on top, which we talked about that. So I will let this dry. I do want to come back and do one last of some splatters, and probably do some pink. I'm loving the way this is drying. There's a ton of movement. I'll probably do a little bit of leaf work. I am going to go ahead and making sure you can see all this. I'm going to take with the leaves. Let's go ahead and do some splattering with the leaves. So just along your leaves, do some splattering there. And if you want to cover up your flowers, feel free to do that. That way the leaves also, they're not looking too stiff or too formal. Okay, this is lovely. Okay, go ahead, let this completely dry, give it quite a few minutes, rinse your water, and then meet me back here. We're gonna finish up. It's beautiful. I'm absolutely loving that. Okay, so we are back. We're gonna finish up. You can see I was just taking a minute to like straighten down my paper because it was buckling up a bit. Totally normal. You can see too where I'm looking, okay, where do I need to add some more splatter, so liven it up a little bit. Definitely in here, I wanna come back, right? In fact, I think I'm going to, I totally forgot my Viridian. So that is on my palette. I'm actually putting a little bit more on. So we're gonna put a little bit of Viridian on. I wanna put on some of the mauve purple out here, moving that and just giving it a bit of a pop, right? And then we're gonna add in some final splatters, not tons because we don't want it to get muddy, but we do want it to pop. And you can see this is the strength of watercolors. It can be, where it does fade. And that can be nice, right? That can be really nice. It's not usually as bold as we think it's going to be, but sometimes in the fading, if I've added too much water, I need to come back and give it some more life. So I do want to put on some more splatters down here. I will take my paper and go ahead. I'm just going to cover this up a bit. I'm going to take this, I'm going to mix some pink and then magenta with a little bit of blue, so we're going to get a nice deep purple. And I am just going to do some pretty heavy splattering down here. Now, of course, too, with acrylic, you could go on and on and on, but our paper will buckle. So we do have to come to a bit of an end here. And I don't usually do too much more than maybe 3 or 4 layers. And again, too, the part of this was because we don't have tons of time, right? That was part of it. Okay, we've got this nice and light up here. Maybe I should just check okay, good, you can see that. All right, it's gonna look really nice too when we take it off, right? When we take off everything, if you wanna take your brush that has up some of the blue and just dab in here, making sure all of our color dances. We haven't covered up all the white, which we wanna do. We want that white to be light, that light to go in, but see that nice sparkles right there? Isn't that fun? So let's even do a little bit more of that. Don't let your paint get too wet. I mean, not too watery because it will get that kind of water stain look. Let's just do one more splatter up here. I love that. Okay, fantastic. So we're going to come down here now. We're going to move into the second flower. And I think for this one, what I want to do is I still have, so I can see right here, had some blue in there. I'm going to add some of the magenta. So it's more of a pink purpley, that gorgeous plum color that I love, love, love. I'm gonna go ahead and splatter around here. And I'm pretty close. I may be just that far from the top of the paper and hitting hitting the brush pretty firmly, because if you want it higher, it'll go farther, right? So the closer we're getting in here, the more focus we are on our splattering. And then I'm just going to take it in and again, focusing in on some of my blossoms, not all of them. And I really love how it looks like it's almost exploding in all those gorgeous fall romantic colors. Okay, I'm loving this. I'm absolutely loving this. I just wanted a little bit darker down here, so I'm going to add in some more blue. And more controlled, I'm just going to go down here. Beautiful. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, finally, I want to just do a little bit more of the green. And looking at this is the back side of the leaf, that's the front, but still we've got lots of colors in here. So I do want to just I'm going to grab the Viridian. I'm putting just a little bit of cadmium yellow in it, which I know we haven't used a ton of. A little bit of blue, just to create a really nice dark blue. Okay, and now I am going to right over here, right in here, I'm just doing details. I want those leaves, some shadowing. I want one side of the bottom side of the stem to be darker. I went down here, I want this to really stand out right down here. I love that. Okay, we had a little bit of a water stain, so that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and take a bit of a wash now and just over here pull that green all the way through. Over here as well. that way. See, now that all of this is dried, and let me make sure you can see that. And I'm gonna go, see how dark that is? I love that. But because these have dried, I can do a little bit of a wash and it's not gonna erase these. So that's important. I am gonna go get it one more time and then just go back over here, pull that all the way down, and it's not erasing everything. Now I wanna get some more of the little edges, right? That's the really distinguishing mark of a hydrangea. So I'm just taking that tip and just going all the way down. That's lovely. That is really, really nice. Okay, fantastic. So I'm gonna peek up here again. Oh, I really like how this is turning out. This actually, I'm gonna tell you a secret. This is turning out a bit better than I expected. I knew this was gonna be fun, but you know, a lot of times with these splatters, you're not quite sure how they're gonna turn out. You're not quite sure. All right, so if you wanna add a little bit of pop, go ahead and take your pink and even take it just a little bit in the corners of these leaves, where even if it's wet a bit, because we'll get a little bit of a brown, you'll get create a little bit of a shadowing over on that side. We do have some little bumpies where they clipped off the stems, right? So I'm just gonna go like that down the side. That really adds some texture and some nice distinguishing shapes. And we're spreading that color around. Beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm going to take my pink and the mauve color and I'm going to just do some nice sprinkles over the whole thing, including over the green down here. We're going to leave it white up here and we're going to call it good. I'm going to let it dry and then I'll take off the tape. It is gorgeous, you guys. I am so pleased with this and I hope you are too. I would love to hear what you thought about this, and if you really enjoyed this, if you want to see more, if you want to paint more of really a little bit larger freestyle, doing some more of this really fun splatter art, let me know and we will definitely do that. And come back if you want to add more splatters. You can see I like to play around and it's just beautiful. It's just free, fabulous, a gorgeous. I can frame this. Really, it's going to look beautiful on my rest with my fall art. Okay guys, I'm going to see you next time in the next video. Thank you so much for joining with me and painting with me this week.